Great, thank you, Charlie. I've been working with Charlie on these sessions, and I really want to, I really hope that with these sessions we can create a like space where we can all come together and help each other solve like current problems we might be having. Because I don't want to just have like a dry and theoretical discussion. I think it'd be good if we could like help each other out. Because I know I certainly have issues that I often want to share with other people just as a sounding board. So hopefully we're able to do that. Anyway, on to the topic around kind of assertiveness and fairness. So just to give an introduction to me, I'm Jon Hastie. I'm the CEO of Pathfinders, and I kind of independently with BAs, kind of managed BAs for probably about 16 years in total. Um, and yeah, my condition has changed quite a lot over those times. So now I currently have 2 to 1, 2 to 1 care for BAs. So in terms of like assertiveness and fairness, I had a couple of examples I was going to share. So in terms of assertiveness, there was something that came up for me recently, and I found out that one of my BAs had been sleeping on a night shift, which isn't uh, something that's allowed with my care plan, just because I've got a ventilator and I need a lot of help. And I ended up finding out from a new PA who I'd taken on, who I ended up having to dismiss because they fell asleep repeatedly. Um, but they said, "Oh, I hear that other PAs are falling asleep," so I had to kind of investigate and find out what was happening. And it turned out there was a regular PA of mine who's been with me probably about 4 years, who was who was falling asleep on shift, and no one was mentioning it because they didn't want to grass him up. So it's a bit kind of tricky. And I knew that he'd been like having various issues before. Um, he kind of recently got over like survived a cancer prognosis. 'Cause he'd been recovered for a little while now, but I knew he had family issues. And I like him because he's been working with me for a while, but I found it really difficult to actually be assertive. But what I did is I found out what the situation was and made sure they definitely had been happening because we reported and I confirmed it was. And then I sat down with him and I spoke to him and I told him I did understand all the challenges he was facing, but said, that this cannot continue. Like, it's part of the job requirements. And although I know it's difficult for you, we need to find a solution to this. So we had a discussion about it, and yeah, we kind of came to a resolution. But I'm, I'm aware it's something I'm still going to have to monitor because I can't just trust that it will be cool okay now. So need to keep an eye on it. But I found it quite difficult to be firm when I knew he was struggling. And an example of fairness that I've had to have recently. So I generally have a rule that people need to give me like 4 weeks notice if they want to take a holiday or as much notice as possible. Because somebody needed holiday recently. Could get it by my own rules, I probably wouldn't have allowed them to, but because they've been quite flexible for me and supportive and they moved their shifts around and covered somebody recently, then I kind of felt it was fair to be a little bit flexible in how I interpreted my rules. So yeah, I allowed them to book holiday. I did have to make sure that I could cover it and that I wasn't going to be like caught short by doing it. But yeah, I do think it's important to be fair, particularly when people are supportive to you, to kind of give that back in some way. Um, just a couple of things I want to say around assertiveness and fairness. Firstly, I mean, it's all about finding the right balance between your needs and your BA's needs. So you need to consider your BA's needs because you want to keep your BA's, but generally you want to have a nice, positive working environment with them. And if they're good workers, you want to kind of value and recognize them. But you also need to like prioritize your own needs sometimes, just because for your own well-being, and to ensure you can be independent and have your needs met. So, you sometimes need them to realize that they're paid to support you. So, you need to prioritize your needs. But I do think it's all about getting a balance. I do think that if you're not careful, like if you let people like breach boundaries and kind of do whatever they want to get away with it, then you're sending a message to the rest of your team that that's okay. And that's something you need to think about is like what message am I sending to everybody else? You know, want BAs to be able to walk all over you. Um, I, but because I've been working with people for quite a while, I do consider a few of my BAs to be friends, but I'm very cautious about that kind of friendship relationship because, you know, friendships are built on respect, so there's got to be that respect for those boundaries at the heart of it, I think. And I think you can get people, and I've had BAs in the past who try and use their friendship to their advantage, so they try and make you feel like you're friends, so that it makes it easier to get you to, give them time off when they want to, and make different accommodations for them and kind of give them a bit of leeway. So I think it's kind of like, you've got to be really careful that people don't like overuse or manipulate that kind of connection that you've made with people. I think for me, the most important thing is getting the right start with my PAs. So just from the beginning, being clear with boundaries, like having a clear job description. Um, I have a little like guide to looking after me that gives them a few kind of tips about what I want. And yeah, I just try and be clear and consistent in terms of what I agree to. And yeah, I do find that you need to nip things in the bud with BAs because they may do things you don't like. And if you don't speak up at the beginning, it becomes harder and harder to actually say something. So I think it's really important to get it right at the beginning. Um, when situations do arise, I always try to be understanding and compassionate as possible. So I will ask them like what's going on, why things are happening, like what's happening in their lives, and like having difficult things that they're going through. And I do try to be understanding, but you've got to be careful to make sure you stay firm in terms of what you're trying to communicate to your PA and sticking to that rather than, stopping because they told you something bad. But I think with that said, you do need to think about your timing. You need to, sometimes people are just having a terrible day and it's not the right time to have a firm discussion with them. But as long as it happens at some point, I think it's okay to be a bit flexible sometimes. But you never know, there might be something going on that you don't know about that would actually qualify as something you need to give a reasonable adjustment to. So you do just need to be wary that that could be the case. Final point I wanted to make is just about how not to do things. And this is based on experience. Like I've had that, I think there was a BA when I was quite early on in employing BAs. And we got into an argument about how dinner should be cooked. I can't even remember what we were making, but we were making something, and I felt my PA wasn't mixing it right. and she basically had, when I said that, um, she didn't really change how she was mixing it, and then I was like, no, you've got to do it this way. And, like, I was quite insistent. She got angry, and then, like, I think I responded in anger, and it was just messy, and it didn't need to be like that. So, I know these days what I would do is, like, never, never reply in anger, always wait. Like, schedule the time to have a discussion when you could be, when you can be calm, when you can think about exactly what you want to say. Make sure you have a private conversation, not in front of anyone else. Can yeah, just try and stay calm, even though you might be in your head just screaming at your. But yeah, you've got to calm yourself down. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share. But be happy to answer any kind of questions, or we can just kind of have a general discussion.